Hi guys, I've kind of stated this before, but I want to start doing every video with this and a little tidbit. The links down below to all my social media sites are still there, but also is where I'm doing commentary for machinima style wrestling. A lot of guys use the old WWE 2K14, I believe, and some guys are using the new one to do machinima wrestling. They call it core wrestling or interactive wrestling or whatever it is. Down below. So check me out there. I'm doing a lot of the commentary. I'm doing some of the commentary at those two places. Starting this week, apparently, They have uploaded the latest episodes with my stunningly beautiful voice down below. Okay, so Battleground happened. I was pretty happy with the show, but we didn't get a lot of answers to the questions that we want the answers to. So I thought I would do a video where I would book how we got those answers and how we start building to Summerslam, which has kind of already started with the Jericho highlight reel segment, which I probably would have done on Raw, but I don't mind it necessarily taking place at Battleground because I think a lot of stuff Battleground was kind of just thrown together because of the draft. But okay, so let's answer some of those questions right off the bat on how I would book Raw, and I will give you my card also at the end for SummerSlam. Okay, and you'll notice I'll set up some stuff for SummerSlam here and some stuff later on. Okay, Mick Foley is interviewed by JoJo, and he announces that the board of directors have debated this issue back and forth, and they have said that the WWE, the tag team, and the women's title have to be shown, the champions have to be seen on both shows. So they are not necessarily part of any roster anymore. Now, when they lose the belt, of course, they go back to their respective brands. But he, of course, doesn't have to say that. To appear on both shows every week. They have to be on both shows every week, as long as they hold their respective titles. So Dean Ambrose will be here tonight. So you have that, and the crowd hopefully pop. Will be here tonight. But his next title defense, seeing as he took on two Raw guys, will be against a SmackDown competitor. But that doesn't, he also says this, but that doesn't mean we can't have the match that steals the show. So, starting tonight, there will be a tournament to crown a #1 contender that will face the WWE Champion, whoever that may be, at Clash of Champions, which is in September. It's on, it says in September 25th, but I meant on. And the final of that tournament will take place at SummerSlam, which will be great. One of those matches will be our main event, and it will be a rematch from Money in the Bank, pitting Roman Reigns against Seth Rollins. Now, those guys have had a bunch of matches. Why not have one of them main event Raw? Okay. Also tonight we will see Dana Brooke go one-on-one with Sasha Banks, and seeing as wherever Dana Brooke goes, Charlotte will follow. In Sasha Banks' corner will be the returning Paige. Also, Enzo and Cass will face the Club. I will tell you more of the matches in the tournament going forward. Okay, so he announces, back and forth through the night, they announce this stuff that's going on. Okay, we kick off the show with so that was just a big exposition dump at the beginning of the show. Now Daniel Bryan, I haven't put it in there. He'll have pretty much a similar exposition dump at the beginning of his show, except he will announce his number one contenders match as well that he'll have. Because Raw has a lot less star power. I looked at it and I tell you, not Raw, SmackDown has a lot less star power going behind it. And I'll tell you what, that was a bitch of a show to book. Just from a standpoint of star power, because after you book certain things and you realize that certain talent are off the table once you decide to do one or two things. Here we go. But if so we kick off the show with a tag team match. It is R-Truth and Goldust teaming up, the Golden Truth versus Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel, the Social Outcast. Now we show a clip of earlier in the day the Social Outcasts asking Mick Foley for a match. Well, not asking for a match, but asking for them to draft Heath Slater because he's undrafted. And Mick says, "Oh, well, I don't think so. I don't think that we want the talent. We want that guy on our show. We don't necessarily want him. I'm not sure why we would bring him in, sort of thing." And yeah, he says, "Okay, he says, okay, I'll tell you what, you guys, you're a great team, but I want to put you against another great team. If you guys manage to win that match, I tell you what, I will draft Heath Slater to Raw tonight." And you'll have that. But guess what? R-Truth manages to get the pin on Bo Dallas. It doesn't necessarily matter. Then we have a US. We go to commercial because we've had that big exposition dump. We've had a match. Tell you what, let's kick off have a break, and then we come back. It's Rusev with Lana taking on Sin Cara, and he's defending his US title. Rusev crushes Sin Cara. This is not building to a US title match, so what do you know? There we go. That happens. And then we get this, which is announced as a number one contenders match, and we see also in the back that all three members of New Day are watching, and it is Enzo and Cass versus the Club. The Club managed to get the victory after the debuting Finn Balor helps them out during the match and costs Enzo and Cass the tag team title, number one contendership, and they're pissed. And yeah, we see the forming of the new Balor Club. Okay, so I've set that up. I've set up two matches already for. I've announced that I'm building up to a match, and I'm pretty much saying that Sasha Banks is going to face Charlotte at SummerSlam. So, okay, we continue on. Dean Ambrose arrives, and I like the idea of him arriving in a cab. So yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. I like him arriving in a cab, so I'll have him arrive in a cab. And then we have our first number one contendership match, and it's Chris Jericho versus Jack Swagger. Well, so yeah, we have that. Jericho wins, and after that, before we head to the commercial, we see that Paul Heyman is arriving, and we know that's to promote the Randy Orton Brock Lesnar match, so that's what he's here to do. We have a tag team match. It's the one night reformation, but they both come out to different entrances. It's Darren Young and Titus O'Neil versus Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman. Okay, Braun Strowman gets the win by submission. Nothing too much here. Paul Heyman comes out. He's talking about Brock Lesnar. I didn't write it down what Paul Heyman would say because I just don't think it would be necessary. He would just come out and say, Brock Lesnar is going to face Randy Orton at SummerSlam. What do you think is going to happen, Randy? He might even show. I'm pretty sure there was a match, like in the very early days of the SmackDown brand split, where Brock did face Randy and Brock got the win. So I would show that, or I'd show an OVW clip of them or something having a match together where Brock just kicked his ass. But, or you would just show a similar video package to what you showed at SummerSlam, and you'd be like, well, do you really want to see that? But yeah, just show stuff like that. Then after that clip is shown, Dean Ambrose music hits, and the announcers are like, what the heck? Why is Dean Ambrose coming out? Dean Ambrose comes out and says, at WrestleMania, I went into the Beast's lair. I gave him every advantage possible. He might have beat me, but he didn't take me out. And after I faced him, I won this. And he holds up the title. So, the Beast don't scare me. Alright, I know he's facing Randy at SummerSlam. But who's he facing after SummerSlam? And you tease a Brock Lesnar Dean Ambrose rematch. You don't necessarily say when it's going to be, but this is the beginning of a tease of what's to come after SummerSlam. Let's see. Okay, and then we have another couple of matches for the number one contendership thing. So we have Big Show versus Mark Henry. First we have Cesaro versus Sheamus, which, okay, that will be pretty good. Cesaro goes over. Then we have Big Show versus Mark Henry. I know Mark Henry's on his way out, so I'm just having Mark Henry job here. I don't necessarily know when that he's leaving, whether he has left or whatever. I just throw him on here just because he's a former world champion, and I kind of he's perceived as a bit of a star here going forward. So after the Big Show Mark Henry match, we need to boost up the crowd. So we come back from a commercial, and it's Dana Brooke with Charlotte taking on Sasha Banks with Paige in her corner. Sasha gets the win because we need to build that up. And then, of course, we have our main event of the evening, which is Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. And I would have on the stage watching the match in some sort of chair. I want a chair set up there, like even if it's just a lawn chair or something. I think a lawn chair would probably be a good, cool thing. Have Dean sitting on it, watching the match with the belt, and maybe have some shades on him too, because I like that look. Maybe have Renee Young sitting on his lap as well. That would be cool. That last little bit is not necessary. And I'd have Seth Rollins win, and that's of course Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. But I'm not necessarily burying. don't think I'd be burying, because in my with what I've got booked, I want Dean to face off against Seth at the Clash Champion show, because I think he's not necessarily the biggest star on the show, but with what I've got booked, he's the logical choice to leave SummerSlam with the belt with what I've got coming up. But okay, let's go to... So we have a very similar opening, and it's not too long. It's in the back. It's Daniel Bryan, it's Daniel Bryan. I'd have him in an office. I'd have him have a picture of his title win in his office. Framed T-shirt of his with yes, yes, yes on it, and another one with no, no, no on it. Yeah, very similar to what Kurt Angle had and Paul Heyman had in there. It opens up and you have one of the backstage guys, backstage interviewers, interview Daniel Bryan. He says, hey, last night on Raw, the beans were spilled, and he says, yes, that all the belts will float from show to show, but we're going to have the championship match at SummerSlam. We say the championship match because, and tonight it will be Alberto Del Rio versus Dolph Ziggler in the main event to decide the number one contender. Also tonight we have a few other matches. The New Day will be teaming up with Naomi to take on WWE Women's Champion Charlotte, and with Baron Corbin and not Febreze, Breezango. In our opening match. Also, The Miz will be defending his Intercontinental title against Kalisto. And lastly, in a match that I personally am looking forward to, it is John Cena teaming up with Randy Orton to take on AJ Styles and Kane. Oh. And he kicks the person out. So, you announced a whole bunch of matches there. So you kick off the show with the Charlotte match, and I would have Charlotte go over there. She gets the win with the figure 4, figure 8 leg lock over Naomi, just because. And then you go to commercial break, come back, and you have Apollo Crews versus Eric Rowan. I'd have Apollo Crews win here, just because I want to build up Apollo Crews. I see potential there. But yeah, The Miz goes over Kalisto next. I'll just run through these. Then the Hype Bros, who you show what happened at Battleground, and you show the reformation of the Hype Bros. They're taking on the Vaudevillains. But I have the Vaudevillains win. Just because I've got babyface champions. I need to have heel challenges coming up. Carmella versus Alexa Bliss. This is just to showcase the women on SmackDown, because while they don't have the championship, you've got to show stuff that's what you've got, and I think that's what you'll do. They'll probably show Eva Marie if they were to do some sort of showcase, but yeah. Then we have the sub-main event, Randy Orton and John Cena taking on AJ Styles and Kane. Well, seeing as Randy's going to be taking on Brock, I've got to have him win. And I don't want him beating AJ. So I got to have him beat Kane. So Randy Orton pins Kane. Kane and Randy Orton leave. AJ grabs the mic. He says, "Hey, John Cena beat me at Battleground, but he needed two friends to do it, and those friends aren't here now, and they're not going to help him out at Summerslam. So, what do you say, John? One more time, you and me, and we'll see who the better man is." John Cena agrees. We have our match. We have our rematch at SummerSlam. Now, you might want to go a little bit more heelish with that. Have AJ beat up John at the afterward. That might be a better way to go, but I just came up with that on the fly, so that's what I would do. And then we have our number one contenders match, and well, Alberto Del Rio wins. That's what I've got. So let me run down the SummerSlam card for you right now. I'm not necessarily giving you results here, but I will try and do that while I'm here. Charlotte and Dana Brooke, with Dana Brooke, takes on Sasha Banks and Paige to open up the show. They seem to like doing women's title matches to open up the show, and I think it would be a good way to open up the show. So Charlotte does not go over. We have Sasha Banks as your new women's champion. We bring the belt over to SmackDown for a little while, and we possibly do a rematch down the road. But the next show, I checked it out, is Backlash, which is going to be a SmackDown show. So why not put the women's title on there? Have Sasha defend it against someone on there. Probably Natalya would be my choice going forward, but yeah. Now, then we have the New Day match. It's Kofi and Big E. In their corner is Xavier Woods. And on the opposite side, we have Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson with Finn Balor in their corner. Now, you possibly might want to do Finn versus Xavier on the pre-show. Now, I know people might like that, but that would be an interesting idea to build up this match. Possibly have them square off on Raw, tear the house down. I think that would be good. US title. I thought this might be interesting. Rusev with Lana taking on Darren Young and Bob Backlund. And you kind of replicate that. They like to replicate it, but I'm not necessarily a fan of it, but I gather might be, if they were to do this match, this is probably what they might do. Have Bob Backlund come out with a towel, and in the ring you have the accolade on Darren Young. He's not tapping, he's not saying I give up. And you have Bob Backlund throwing the towel. That would be the thing that they'll probably do. And it's just a way to do the match. You have AJ Styles versus John Cena. Now, ideally, I would have AJ go over here because of what happened at Battleground. Plus, I've got a babyface champion. Need heel challenges. So, that's why I would do it. But, again, they would probably have John Cena go over. But I feel like I'm justified in my reasons. You would have to build up your heels on SmackDown. So yeah. Okay, so then we have the finals of the number one contender for Clash of the Champions tournament. Oh wait, no, we have our IC title match first, which is Miz and Maurice versus Apollo Crews. I literally went through the roster. and I think Dolph and Miz has been done a little bit too much lately, so I thought I'd put Apollo Crews in there just to have some rookie challenge him. I thought that would be a cool idea. You build up Apollo Crews. You don't have him win, but you have a pretty good thing there, and plus it gives Apollo a chance to show some personality during the build-up to your show, which is, I think, one thing that he is kind of missing. You get into that Apollo Crews character a little bit more. Then you have, like I said, the finals of the Seth Rollins, Cesaro, the #1 contenders for Clash of Champions. This gives you time to build up to that Clash of the Champions card. By having the final here, you know who's going to face, and you have Dean on Raw building up for that match, and then on the other show, you have him building up against his challenger, which would probably be a rematch of Alberto Del Rio versus him again, whatever. So Seth Rollins versus Cesaro. I'd have Seth Rollins go over. Like I said, heel. I got a babyface champion. I got to build up my heels. Okay, so Seth Rollins go over. Kind of gives away the result for the next match. Dean Ambrose versus Alberto Del Rio. You have Dean go over here. Just because you haven't done a whole lot with Alberto, I think putting him in the championship picture might bring him around a bit. Plus, he gets to see. He gets the spotlight shone on him for a little while, and I think it's a good idea. And plus, you have two different stories going on different shows. You don't need to have this. You don't need to worry about this too much. Dean's like, hey, on Raw, the story will be the Shield coming, the continuing story of the Shield breakup, them fighting each other again. This would probably bring about the end of that feud. Probably add a little stipulation, no holds barred, or something to it where you do that. And of course, you got Randy Orton versus Brock Lesnar. You would probably have Brock go over here. You would probably do that. And again, this would actually, the way I would do the build-up, this would be the first time you see Brock. Just because of what he did, yeah, I think suspension is in there. Alright, and Dean Ambrose versus Alberto Del Rio. So I said that I'd have Dean go over. So the two stories, you've got two different stories going on. On one, you're building up to Clash of the Champions, which is Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose, which you are definitely going to do. On the other one, it's Alberto Del Rio versus Dean Ambrose. So it's the new challenger, the returning guy coming back, the returning heel, who hasn't been doing a lot since he's come back. His only claim to fame is, yeah, he beat John Cena and he's come back. So you need to build up Alberto Del Rio with, and I would change his finisher too. Oh God, that stupid finisher. I'd say, can you do something else? Man, that drop kick, that double stomp takes too long to set up. So don't do it anymore. Okay, so tell me what you think, guys. I will put this whole document thing in the description below, underneath all the links and all that stuff. So yeah, subscribe to DCA, subscribe to WTW, subscribe to me, all that stuff. Follow me on Twitter, like the Facebook fan page so you don't miss any of my Twitch streams, which I will still be doing. I just haven't got around to doing another one. I've been so busy with doing commentaries lately over on DCA and WTW So, sorry guys if I haven't got to that. But yeah, see you all later.